of Berlin, 1885. The foreign ministers of 14 European powers and the United States established the ground rules for the future exploitation of the Dark Continent.
Africans were not invited.
The conference ushered in a period of heightened colonial activity by European powers while simultaneously eliminating most existing forms of the African autonomy and self-governance.
Europeans, driven by the need for natural resources, captive markets, trade, and cheap labor, with the idea of a civilizing mission named the White Man's Burden, demanded control of the African continent. Of the 14, France, Great Britain, Germany, and Portugal were the major players. The French dominated most of West Africa. Britain dominated East and Southern Africa. Germany held 4 colonies, 1 in each region. The Portuguese held 1 small colony in West Africa and 2 large colonies in South Africa, and Belgium dominated the vast area that later became the Congo.
The colonial powers were divided in how they ruled themselves and how they ruled Africa. Some colonial powers were democracies, Great Britain and France, while others were dictatorships, Spain and Portugal. The British established an indirect rule over much of their domain in Africa, and did so by allowing indigenous rulers to become representatives to the ruling country. The Portuguese colonies displayed harsh, direct control, and the French sought to create a class of culturally assimilated elites who would function to actively represent French ideals in the colonies. Belgium, under the ruling of King Leopold II, was the most ruthless colonial power, driving its inhabitants to meet rigid production quotas, tirelessly gathering resources, and punishing them by killing and maiming.
The outcome was a document that came to be known as the General Act of the Berlin Conference and a formalization of the scramble for Africa. As a result of the scramble for Africa, colonialism was introduced across nearly the whole continent, and it wasn't until post-World War II that African independence was regained in the form of fragmented states.
Today, Africa is still struggling to recover from the atrocities of the late 19th century and early 20th century.